to the next XAML available after the process XAML. Here we have the transaction status. Let's enable it by clicking Ctrl E. There is a validation error available here. If you just open the input arguments, it's because the transaction item that we have in the main, the variable, is of string type, and the in-transaction item available inside the set transaction status is of Q type. Let's go and make that change. Here it's of string type. Okay. There are a few errors that will pop up as soon as you do that. Delete this block of sequence because it is no longer needed because we are not using orchestrator. You can even delete this in business exception sequence, similarly in system exception sequence. Once that is done, if you go back to this and click on input arguments, there's no more any error. Replace this with transaction item so that we can use that particular recipe name, whatever we have in the main file, in the set transaction status. But if you're looking into this particular file, what will happen is there are three states available. One is successful, one is business exception, one is system exception. What is successful? If we don't have any business exception or system exception, then it will be sent to this particular block. If there is any business exception, then it will be sent to this. If there are any exception related to system, it will be sent to system exception. Fine. So both of this, success and business exceptions, are similar in nature. Here you have activity to log few of the details into the log file so that it can be used to troubleshoot an issue. There's just a log message that we are taking some value from the configuration file, and then whatever we have added over here, the fields, not the values, we are taking off that fields from here. Okay, so that they are not repeated every time. Then moving forward, we have a sequence common to this both. It is to increment the set transaction number. Set transaction number will be incremented every time when it is successful or there is a business exception, because we know that for both of this type of things we have to move on to the next transaction, while it is different with system exception where we will try to retry the particular failed case. This thing we will discuss later, but for now let's see how system and business exception works. In case you are looking out to troubleshoot this, you can directly go to debug tab. Here you can find the option called open logs. Every day we run the robot, it will write the logs into this particular file, okay, text file, basically a log file. Any number of transactions that happens in a day will be written back to this particular text file, which is created with that particular current date. That's about the set transaction status, success and business exception sequence. Let's run it once. Let me go back to this and place a breakpoint. And then I will try to run it once. Okay, there is a breakpoint right here, so it's stopping over there. Let's click on continue. Once I click on continue, it's displaying few options. I'll select fruits and that apple. There are a few message boxes that we have to be removing. It has opened the website, just stopped again because we have placed breakpoint here too. Let's remove that because we no longer need it. Continue. Just search for the apple. It has found the results. So it is trying to fetch the first item from the list. It has navigated to this. Here are the ingredients. Next thing it will do is it will fetch the steps. This time, this ideal time can be reduced if you just fine-tune few activities in the UiPath. We have placed a breakpoint here, so that was the reason why it has stopped over there. Just click on continue. By now the UiPath might be processing the data. Okay, it was able to fetch the details, and it might have already wrote the data to the text file, and now we are in the set transaction data. Let's click step into. From here we are into success because there were no errors. It has added the logs, it has written something here, and then it has removed the logs. Moving forward, it is trying to increment the transaction number, which was 1 earlier, and assigned a 0 value to retry number. Retry number is a variable that can be used mostly when we are trying to retry a transaction, which mostly happens in a failed case. Info, it is going out from here into, so it is validating few triggers over here. Because it's successful case, it will move on to the set transaction, basically get transaction data. As we can see, if this is a successful case, it will move on to get transaction data again to get the next transactions available. And if it's a business exception, then the same happens. But when it's system exception, it will go to the initialization stage and it will initialize all the applications needed for a particular transaction to happen. Okay, because it assumes there was some error in the application or some input file that we have been consuming. So here I am just clicking on step into so that it proceeds further. Right now it has gone to the else because transaction number now is 2 and 2 is not equal to 1. It's nothing now, so it will directly go to the end process and it will stop. Because there was no data, if I just click on this, it has reached the end process. If I just continue, the bot has stopped. This was about the happy path.